Yo, today I've got a review of the new Lil Yachty album. Let's start here. This album has shaken the whole music community up. This is not something I expected from Lil Yachty. He's usually stuck with trap, and I feel like as time has gone on, his music has been getting less and less innovative. That is until this release. Let's Start Here is a psychedelic rock album made by Lil Yachty. I mean, he's not a complete 180 with his sound. This is by far the most creative and artistic thing Yachty has done. He's taken a lot of influence clearly from Tame Impala, and more importantly from Pink Floyd, which is immediately noticeable from the first track, which I think that track left most people in awe when they were listening to this album for the first time. This is unlike anything he has done before, not even remotely close. He flows with auto-tune over a psychedelic rock instrumental, which honestly doesn't sound bad. Some synths here and there in the first half add to the color of this track and make it sound even more textured. Then he brings in an electric guitar, powerfully delivering a solo with the drums, and honestly it sounds like some real old school stuff but with a more modern production to it. He slows it down smoothly and lets the track breathe a bit after that massive wave of surprise just hit us, only to come back with the crescendo of the song. Deanna Gordon, who is present on this album a couple of times, this is one of her features, she delivers vocals which can only be described as powerful, giving her all over the instrumental, which quite frankly left me in shock that I'm hearing this on a Yachty album. The song comes down again with her just singing over the piano, only for the instrumental to come back in with the drums getting more intense and the whole track erupting, ending explosively. Yep, that'll happen in a Lil Yachty song. I've realized this with many rappers. When they give a new genre a try, it still sounds like just a rapper attempting to do that style of music. While on here, I can already tell from this first track alone that it's not going to be like that. Yachty makes this sound so natural and not like it's just some rapper giving a spin on the genre. This sound is so well developed and finalized. If you heard it for the first time, you'd assume this was like a well-respected psych rock band, which is just one person, it's Lil Yachty. And I know that he had production credits on 12 out of the 14 tracks, which is very impressive. I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect that. Basically what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't sound gimmicky. And to answer your question, if he keeps up this consistency for the whole album, yes he does. The next track is The Ride, a fun track to vibe out to. Tizo Touchdown, the feature on here, does this thing, delivering a fun performance, and Yachty makes a catchy hook. Sounds like psychedelic pop, maybe something you'd hear at a festival or something you'd play in a car during the summer trip, given the name The Ride. It's very pretty sounding. I'd like to talk a little bit about the track Pretty as well. It comes before the interlude, and I mostly want to talk about it for the ad-libs. The vocal effect is back that was present on Poland, and it sounds great, and I guess he's adapted it, and that's his thing now. This is a confidence leaking track. Yachty keeps calling himself pretty over a very catchy chorus, which seems to be a reoccurring theme here. Yachty has a lot of good choruses. It's a very groovy song, just like the previous two. The feature adds on to the confident narrative of the song, and probably the most fun song yet. You can tell Yachty had fun making this track, and it's pretty important that that fun kind of oozes out into the listener. A lot of the album sounds very pretty and just very enjoyable. It's pleasing to the ear while still being sort of trippy. But it's not just that. This album is very well sequenced. Yeah, it may have a lot of nice and happy sounding music, but the way that the tracks flow and transition into each other tightens it up very well and leaves space to slow it down or bring a little bit of a darker vibe to it. Like with the interlude, Failure. That interlude is purely there for sequencing. There are 4 tracks before it that start the album off, but this interlude slows it down a little. It serves as a break from the music. It's not corny, what he's saying on it makes sense, and it's a little cool down from the music. And then the next song is The Zone, which sounds a bit slower than the previous songs, but fits well because of the interlude. It served as a nice thing to slow the tempo down. Then I want to talk about Drive Me Crazy, one of the most catchy and seductive songs on the whole album. Deanna Gordon comes back on this track, and it's clear that she makes this album so much better. Her vocals sound rich, luscious, and work great over the instrumental. The chorus is anthemic, with her and Yachty singing in unison. Yachty takes over and flows very well over the beat. Nothing is happening here thematically, but nothing needs to be happening. This is a feel-good song that serves its purpose very well. There is also a switch which is done smoothly. I'm not a big fan of the second half, but it still sounds pretty decent. Like, it's not as good as the first half, definitely, but it's still, you know, it's fine. I don't mind it. There's some pretty cool drums on there. And that switch also kind of helps make for a pretty cool transition into the next song, which is my personal favorite song on this album. The darkest sounding song yet. I've officially lost vision. You know, when the song comes in, it sounds like a little bit of a metal song. I don't know. What is Yachty doing? This is Lil Yachty, yes. We get a trippy instrumental here, a dark sounding guitar in the back with Yachty's vocals just swirling around the song. It's a weird yet grand sounding song. Yachty is very melodic with auto-tune over the verse, and it sounds great. There are synths throughout the song, and they add to this big feeling to it. Yachty fades away, and the GOAT Deanna Gordon comes in again. She sings her heart out, and from this project, it is clear that, you know, her and the piano, they are a goated duo. The song reaches its crescendo, in my opinion, the best moment on the whole album. The drums come in. Deanna hits high, powerful notes. It maintains a dark sound. It sounds like you're being swallowed by something. It's going in circles around you. Lil Yachty's performance on here is honestly just ridiculous. ridiculously good as well. He's not really singing, he's just kind of preaching over this huge thing that's happening in the background. The subject matter is also a bit more serious on here, which does reflect on the sound. It's about drug addiction and how it keeps reeling him back in, as well as describing a bad trip. Has to be my favorite from the project and my favorite thing Yachty has ever made. Sadly, after this track, we get a bit of a gray area in terms of quality for me. There is a clear dip. Say Something is good, don't get me wrong, it's a nice vibey song, but it just isn't on par with the rest of the album, I feel like. But it's still, you know, it's not a bad track, definitely. And then we have one of my least favorites in Paint the Sky. There's not much to say about it. It transitions nicely though. But if these tracks were altered or messed with, I think the end result could have been a bit better. But to make up for that, we have a very strong finish on the project. Should I Be and The Alchemist are two of the loudest songs on the album in the way that they are mixed. And even though The Alchemist Yachty is practically yelling, these two transition into each other well and get you ready for the outro, which is just fantastic. Reach the Sunshine makes me feel the same way I felt going into this album, left in shock. The song structure here, I need to talk about it. It is really cool. I feel like the chorus is the big instrumental breakdowns. The breakdowns here sound evil and dark, but also they sound like they are meant to impress, which is really weird. That's the only way I can describe it. It feels like Yachty knows what he's doing. Like, okay, he knows he got some cooking here. He's writing it right now, pause, but yeah. He laughs over him like an evil villain. It's a great sounding part, which just leaves me smiling. Yeah, you know what you're doing. Yeah, you know this is good. Daniel Caesar seems to interpolate Radiohead on here. And after a big breakdown, the song calms down, just the piano with some strings. It's a great closer, and I find that it transitions nicely into the intro. I think just based on the lyrics, the outro signifies Yachty accepting his flaws and saying, fuck it, that's who I am, I might as well embrace it, but you know, hey. And that's pretty much it for this project. I think it's fantastic at certain parts and pretty consistent all throughout. I haven't really given it any negatives. I do have to say there's a bit of clipping going on certain parts. I assume that's just because there's so much stuff going on. But yeah, that does bother me a little bit when I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on really. The clipping kind of gets to me. It just kind of annoys me. But for a more casual listen, it's not that noticeable. It's not the biggest issue in the world. And there's also a couple of pretty average songs which just disrupt the flow a little bit, like We Saw the Sun. I don't really get the hype behind that track. I think it's just, you know, it's fine. But there really are not much negatives to say about this album. Before we get into my favorite tracks, make sure you like and subscribe. Alright, let's get into it. For my favorite tracks, I'll start off with Pretty. Love the chorus on that. The Ride, again one of the better choruses on this project. Reach the Sunshine does its job as an outro and sounds dark. The Black Seminole, I mean, what a way to introduce the album. And I've officially lost vision. As I've said, my personal favorite Yachty song, and I think I praised it quite a bit. Lil Yachty shows off his impressive ability to craft catchy choruses and deliver creative vocal performances over modernized psychedelic rock instrumentals. Let's Start Here sounds concise and doesn't waste much of your time. There are qualities in pretty much every song here. The tracklist flows nicely and there are tracks that blow me away. I'm gonna rate this album a decent 8 out of 10. But yeah, that's gonna be it for my review. Tell me what you guys thought of the album. If you liked it, tell me why. If you didn't, also tell me why. I'm looking to hear you guys' opinions. I also ranked every song on this album, so check that out if you want to. Please make sure you like and subscribe. That will mean so much to me, as it will help push my video and my channel into the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Peace.